that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice? Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
You could say that.
I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up.
Welcome, everybody. This is Team Rabbit Hole edition 286 with Tim Stracho. It is the bassman, Tribesmen, musician, mystic, German Gemini. Join the team as we get to know Tim, a dreadlocked warlock, presently in Portugal, whose sonic contributions and personal philosophies add up to make for one interesting brew. Welcome and well met, Tim.
Namaste.
How's it going, dude? So, something we do here on the Team Rabbit Hole podcast is I add up the number, in this case, episode 286, and I kind of add it all up and reduce it. So 2 plus 6 is 8, 8 and 8, 16, and 1 plus 6 is 7. So the seventh major arcana in the tarot is the Chariot card. I am confident that with discipline, I will succeed. The Chariot is about taking charge of your own destiny, seizing the moment, letting the momentum carry you forward, finishing what you have set into motion. Do not hesitate. You can do this. Raphael, what do you got?
Oh, we have the Three of Swords.
Oh
And
boy.
this is
That's a Gemini card, by the way.
yeah. Of course, as again, with the Crowley
Well, I think Ten of Swords was
definitions,
actually. Never mind.
it may seem in a particular direction, and this is actually the only card which I heard associated with physical death, interestingly enough, So here
Okay.
it says worry, anxiety, pain, sorrow, absence, delay, division, rupture, dispersion. And here the attributions in the Three of Swords, actually it's Libra and Saturn. So balance
Libra.
within restriction, I guess. Balance within
It's the
limitations.
breakup card. It's the heartache card. It's a sad one. All right, so I know that's random, and maybe you're not that familiar with tarot cards, however one wants to pronounce that, Tim. But between the Chariot card and that Three of Swords card, is there anything that pops for you automatically, synchronistically, etc.? And if not, that's okay too.
No.
Word. Well, you're traveling, so the Chariot represents travel a lot. I know you're originally from Germany and that you've, I think, lived in Vienna, which is maybe how you know Raphael, but now presently you're in Portugal, I believe,
Yeah.
which I'm pretty sure is what we saw on that video, little scenes of Portugal. So I guess maybe that's a good starting point. How do you know Raphael? Raphael, how did you find this cat on your stoop?
I'm not even sure if I remember, actually.
Oh, perfect for the documentarian purposes. Take a guess. It doesn't have to be exact. Make up a story, Raphael.
No, I don't know. Tim, do you
A
know, actually?
semi-accurate
Do
thing.
you remember how we met initially?
I'm
I'm not sure.
pretty sure it was on the Donau Island um, after an dancing event, after a gore party, I reckon.
Maybe, yeah. Honestly, in this case, I really don't know. But let me just say, then I'll just introduce briefly. So Tim was one of my dearest friends whilst he was living in Vienna. Well, still is, of course, but things and
Yeah.
dimensions change. But
Chariot card.
yeah, and you pick up the most interesting cats along the way. And so I was like, he was long overdue to come on the podcast, actually. But now since we restarted and we want to maybe do another interview as well, I was like, okay, now is the time. And I knew you would get along well because he's a musician too. And yeah, I think it'd be very interesting to hear what Tim has to say.
I'm super glad you took such a long of time and such a long breath. Yeah, because I really wanted to do some online stuff with you way earlier, but yeah, sometimes it's necessary to spend some time outside of the screen.
Oh, well,
Are you
definitely.
talking about me or Raphael? Because this is my first time meeting you. I think he's talking about you, Raphael, right? It's like I was going through Three of Hearts or Three of Swords breakups, and that's why we didn't have the
Also, that was
podcast.
your card. Okay, I see.
Yeah. So, all right. So, what island were you on that you think you met him on?
No, there is an island in Vienna which is called Danube Island, and it's
Okay,
just like
the Danube River.
like which so many cities, they have like an island right where the city is, so people can hang out. It's like Central Park for Vienna, but it's an island basically. So yeah,
I've heard tale. That sounds like a pretty chill spot. So that's how you guys got to know each other. And after an ecstatic dance kind of thing, or maybe a rave, who knows? But some dancey thing happened.
if I think more like some kind of a Goa party, but I almost never even go to them, so that's why I'm wondering about it. But yeah, something along those lines probably.
Yeah.
But
Word.
even here it's interesting. How many people do you meet at parties, and how many do you actually become friends with? So there is also
Yeah.
synchronistic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
And
that's
and
what-
we've been and since we met each other, we've been in a short time on a lot of dances. I remember.
Right, most likely, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
some festival ones.
That's
It
true.
was
Yes.
pretty nice.
Yes.
That's what's
And
up.
then one time he brought me this from Thailand, you said, right? I always
From
said Thailand.
India, from
India.
Bodh
Why
Gaya.
did I want to
I've
say
I've
Thailand?
been there, yeah, and it was a huge journey for me through Nepal and India, and we visited the four big Buddhist pilgrim spots. That was the idea of my friend who traveled with me, or I traveled with him, and that was our last destination in Bodh Gaya, where all these Hindus and Buddhists and all people from around the world come together and pray and doing different praying melodies and musics at the same time, and it was super fantastic to see them. And it was also a really clean city. All these four pilgrim cities were quite clean compared to the other ones in India what I saw.
Hmm.
And
So I guess some spiritual awareness led to more, cleanliness is godliness, they say, I guess. So something like that. Maybe
yeah,
people brought the more awareness to the scene, and we're like, okay, we'll get into that for sure at some point. That was really, what was that, like a leaf, or what was it?
yeah, the leaf from the Bodhi tree. They say it's
Ah,
from that Bodhi tree because you're not allowed to pick them.
right.
When they fell down, they collect them, and yeah, you can buy them and from some people who go around the temple.
That's what's up. It's really pretty. So, some guys shaking the tree every night, being like, aha, ching.
Make
That,
some
Jackpot.
that was
coins.
the dollar tree or money growing on trees.
Yeah,
That's the spot.
absolutely.
That's the spot.
So, you can be as long-winded or as brief as you would prefer, Tim. But I'm kind of curious if you could walk us through your becoming. Obviously, I want to get up into like your travels in Nepal, your music, Portugal, all the stuff you're up to nowadays. But if you can, if you're willing, tell us a little about what growing up in Germany was like. What kind of culture you were raised in, maybe when you started kind of figuring out music and guitar and spirituality, et cetera, et
Yeah, all
cetera.
right. Yeah, it's in the third class I started playing guitar, but then I was really sad, really bad at school, and then I had to quit it and leave the guitar for 2 more years. Then I picked up the bass
Hmm.
and get the right teacher, and the bass teacher told me after 1 year, yeah, you should go to the guitar again because there's a lot more to see and to learn on the guitar. And since all the time I'm super um, flashed by music in all kind of genres. I like so many genres, and I really have a special music genre, some special music genres what I like. But in the end, I think I would give any song a chance.
Well, it's
And
not terrible. You're a Gemini, right? So Gemini
yeah,
conjunct Gemini's sun, but your Neptune, which is like what is the higher octave of Venus technically, um, music, poetry, arts, like Neptune, like kind of the watery stuff, is conjunct your Saturn, which is your structure. So it's not terribly surprising that you're a musician. Just so you know, I was like, hey, it's in your chart, bro.
instant
And one that's like
interesting.
distractible enough with genres. So you're like, yeah, the bass is, it's not boring, but you can have more fun with a guitar for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to play bass in a reggae band and just have the pretty chill part.
Yeah, the
But nah,
dub.
yeah, you know.
Yeah, hold down the groove.
Yeah, but
So you shifted from guitar to bass, back to guitar. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So
yeah.
keep walking us through your histoire.
Then I had a guitar couple duo. I played with him as I've been 15, and I'm still really good in contact with him. But Johnny is playing now on some weddings and in church with his girlfriend, so he's going a completely different line of music. And after we never split, but I joined into a metal group, and he was joining in some traditional music groups. And then I was the front shouter of a metalcore band, and I really like to play metal still.
I think that's some of the stuff I heard. The Wizard song
It's
from
the
the Basement
Basement Tribe.
Tribesmen. Yeah, the Basement Tribe.
Yeah,
I kind of botched the title for this episode with that. I tried to make a pun, but I've forgotten the original title. So it reminds me a little of that Pink Floyd line from Dark Side of the Moon. And if the band you're in starts playing different tunes, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon. So it's like your friend went towards the weddings and the bar mitzvahs or whatever, and you
yes,
kind of started going into mushrooms and Tool vibes more. It seems
yeah, and
a
mosh
little more
pits.
heavy, and it's weird because I don't know all the music. I think you play guitar, but it's I could see potentially your bass influence in your guitar playing. Like you're very even with that sitar, or Raphael was saying sitar. I don't think it was a sitar, it was a guitar, but you were kind of playing drone like sitar things,
Yeah.
where bass root notes are kind of important in holding the space or whatever.
Absolutely. I'm also super inspired from Sleep and Those two bands, oh my god.
Oh, it's a band. I was like, Sleep. I was like, wow,
Sleep and
okay, dreamy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, what was the
really.
second one?
Like the mantra or the
Like All right, cool.
the
So we'll
eternal
get
sound.
into. So that was around 15, and then basically you started doing the metal stuff. Because you're younger. I mean, I'm 37. That means you're about 27. You're about to hit your Saturn return. Get ready, bro. It'll be fun. Karma time.
Yeah.
But it seems you've been doing the right stuff, so don't sweat too much. So
3 years later, I've been 18 and moved into to Vienna.
okay.
I kind of needed a reset or a space to like build together myself in a new place where nobody knows me.
All right, Chariot Card 101. Right
Yeah,
there. You were ready to get in the cart and go.
yeah,
So were you just like, oh, I need to stay in a German speaking kind of culture because you're German speaking yourself, so
No,
Vienna made sense? Or what was the choice for Vienna?
the choice was because I'm a barber since 10 now quite 11 years, and I'm also really against the chemical stuff about hair colors and all this. And my mother also is a natural hairdresser. She's also just using henna color and black tea and curcuma, turmeric, those stuff to color hair. And it's really important to know that you don't do anything against your body when you put this henna color on your hair. It's not bad. It's the same when you put some oil on a wood and it makes it more shiny and more better.
Well, obviously, I won't be coming to your barbershop anytime soon. But okay, so you were a stylist, maybe not right the word, but you worked with hair, and the opportunity arose in Vienna, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
I just text them, this company, and I really like their message and what they want to do, and they also just doing their own products, and it was a huge point for me to move there.
Yeah.
And and it was the first 6 months really hard because I asked myself many times, why did I just move far away from my family and all my friends, and with no reason? I don't had any bad life also. I was in a super nice position also at home, but I felt it called to go somewhere else, to explore myself in new ways. And then I found myself in Vienna, just knowing my boss. I lived the whole 3 years with my boss in a sharing flat. It was also quite another story, but yeah, I learned a lot from her and from this whole time in Vienna. But after the first 6 months, I was recognizing that it was the best movement what I ever did in my life, because I could go in ways what I never could expect at home. Especially I come from a little village, and when you move into a big metropole like Vienna, where so much subculture, you have people around you with the same vibe or who attracts the same vibe, and they're not. In a little village, there you don't have so many people. You have the people, and you have to go around with them for a long or short time. But when you have special interests, it's sometimes hard to find the right people. And in bigger cities, it was super cool. That's how I met people like Raphael, and I'm super glad.
And look where you've come from that. He's got a Bodhi flower or a tree leaf, and you're on a podcast now. So it's funny because you were saying I come from a little village, and not to overthink it, but Giorgio Moroder in Daft Punk's Random Access Memories, if you like Daft Punk, in one song at the beginning of his song, it's called Giorgio. I think it's called Giorgio Moroder. I forget though. He's like, I came from his. I don't think he's German. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you, but he's like, I came from a little village. So when you said that, I was like, oh shit, I've heard this exact phrasing before from a similar kind of sounding person. Raphael, you popped up and out. Did you have something you wanted to say?
No, you just said it. It's all good.
Oh,
Continue.
word. Were you gonna say Daft Punk stuff? Probably not.
No, I just said,
Oh.
just like you said, I have the Bodhi tree leaf. We're on the podcast now. It's all good, so this is how life
Word.
works. But of course, I mean, obviously, just to reiterate the thing I always say, if you follow your excitement with integrity, you end up in interesting places, and so,
Well, that's the funny
Here we
thing. I mean,
are.
it's excitement.
Wow.
But even with that three of swords, there was a little heartache and a little uncertainty. Kind of, you broke up with your homeland, so to speak, and you had to make room for the new. And it didn't maybe go according to your expectation exactly. Like you said, it was an interesting adventure in and of itself. But no mud, no lotus, right? So it is what it is. So you were in Vienna for 3 years. Tell us a little about how that was. I mean, you were working, obviously. Were you playing in music bands, and were you working on your hair, your dreadlocks? How long have you had your dreadlocks?
Since that was the chapter after Vienna. After Vienna, I moved to Australia, and there I got my dreadlocks.
Australia?
Yeah, in Australia. Yeah,
Which part?
and I've been to Perth and West Coast from Perth to Broome,
Okay. I lived in Gold Coast on the East Coast for
East
3 months
Coast.
right before COVID. So Australia,
Wow.
very cool place. So okay, but talk about. We don't have to talk forever. I'm just curious. During those 3 years, I mean, you said you weren't really. It's tricky. You only really knew your boss, and that was kind of the core group. I guess you could say your home base. Um, what were you? What was the best part? Other than what you've already said, which is like there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of subcultures, a lot of experimentation, and flavors to taste or whatever. What are some of the highlights, and maybe even some of the oh my god nightmares that maybe happened to you during that period?
Okay. Um,
I know I'm putting you on the spot, and you could
this
say I pass or whatever,
no,
but I'm
no.
always curious.
It's
Yeah.
a funny thing because I would love to talk about so many really great things, but in the end, this one idea comes in my mind, and I had a 42 years old guy with burnout for 9 months on my couch because
Okay.
he was my boss picked him up as he lived in Vienna, and he had a called barley leaf. You eat that and it's really good for your stomach, and it's a kind of a detoxing thing.
Hmm.
And this was the only product in our whole barber shop, in our natural hairdresser store, which was not from us. And we invented this, and it was quite nice. And I still drink it because it's a good stuff to drink. And after 1 month, um, he moved to Berlin, get there and burnout, had a lose of 40,000 euros. And my boss, she fell in love with him in these 2 weeks where he invented his product in our barber store.
Okay.
He called him and said, "Yeah, come to Vienna, come to my place. You can sleep at my couch," and we fixed this. And yeah, he did that, and after 2 3 weeks, it comes out that they are like can't live together. In the end, in the beginning, they started to recognize that she's in love with him and he not, and then he spoke openly um, with each other. But in the end, they had so much trouble that he knocked on my door, and then he was sleeping at my couch for 9 months, and I had to feed him, and yeah,
Oh man,
everything.
the
Yeah.
stray cat. That's more Three of Swords, right? Heartbreak and bizarre love triangles and all this. It's interesting. I don't know if you've seen the American film with Dave Chappelle, and Jim Brewer and stuff called Half Baked. It's an all right comedy.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the guy on the couch. He's like, and he just like kind of turns over and says one thing once, and then kind of just like that's
Yeah,
it.
true.
But yeah, here's a good example. So you followed your highest excitement, if you want to put it that way. You followed your joy, your intrigue, and it took you to Vienna, and pretty much good things happened. And it doesn't mean, how would I put it? It's good to remember that it's a yin and yang, right? It's both. You can't just avoid the bad and only find the good. So that guy came to Vienna, and it didn't quite go according to plan, but I'm sure he was better for the lessons ultimately, because we're always in school, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, well, you can't play hooky. Life will get you
Nah,
one way or
nah,
the other.
and I learned so much about him because he was the water praying and wine drinking dude, kind of dude, and oh my god, I just learned so much in these times because he was so clearly in this. I could see the contrast so many times so clearly that it was easier for me to stay in the realm what I like to stay.
So in a sense, it was a negative role model. Well, it was like I don't want to do that. So
Yeah,
kind of did.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. So after Vienna, I mean that's a cool tidbit. After Vienna, you went to Australia. What took you there? I mean, I feel you. Random shit pulls you. That's far away. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to want to go to Australia.
Yeah, after 3 years of Vienna, I had the call to. I need space. I was living in a small flat in these 3 years, 9 months with my
Right, with the stray dog or
other
whatever.
fella.
Yeah.
He was just passing at one moment. He was not there anymore. Yeah.
Dust in the wind.
Yeah, okay. But then, yeah, I had the feeling of I need some space, and my brother as well, and my other friend David as well, and we three went to Australia, both there, 2 cars, and then yeah, we drove along, work in some farms, and I listened to Tool the Pod many times as I worked on some farms. Uh, I don't know if you know the music video; it's super nice.
Say the
From
name again.
Tool,
Tool,
the pot.
like the band.
Yeah, the band. I
Okay, and what
I
was
have
the
it.
album?
I listened all the time to that song because I saw the music video once, and it's about a farmer who struggled with his salad, and until he recognized that when he's crying and his teardrops fall into the ground, the salad is sprouting up again, and then he tried to hurt himself many times so he could cry more teardrops, and
The goose
then
that laid the golden egg, sort of
yeah,
thing.
and then all the salad sprouts in a giant ways and giant snails coming around and destroying the whole village. And that's the end. And such a
Oh,
point.
Manyard.
It's such a point. Yeah, I just love this.
I've
But
never seen that. I'll have to. What's the title of the track called?
the pot.
You'll have to send it to me because you're not mispronouncing it. I'm just not hearing it properly.
The pot.
Okay,
Yeah.
like POT, like weed,
Yeah,
pot. Okay,
yeah.
okay, cool. No, I've never heard that track. So you were checking out the west coast of Australia. I have not been there. What was that like?
It's super giant.
Yeah,
You driving kilometers, hundreds of miles, just straight all the time. It looked actually quite the same, but the coast is different. You have bigger rocks, then you have smaller rocks. But the freedomness to do what you want to do in the moment when you wanted to do it, it was super nice because nobody is coming to your
yeah.
place when you rock up a camp and stay there for 2 weeks in the nature. Nobody is rocking up and telling you, "Hey, you can't be there. You can't do their fire."
The wild west of the
Yeah,
postmodern world.
and those guys know to party. Hey, you've been there. Those
Well,
guys know to party, and no,
it was a
I've
prison colony, man. I mean, they've got the genes.
Yeah, I just want to
They're the
say
Rough Riders.
the last Australian I remember was a guy I met in Goa, really nice guy, and he certainly knew how to party as well, from what I heard. So yeah, nice people.
Well, I
I'd
took
say,
the
yeah.
acid to Australia, so I brought the party. But in any event, so like I said, I haven't been to the West Coast. Did you have any crazy animal experiences? There's so many wild animals that are not typical. Obviously, marsupials. I mean, I don't know. I don't think kangaroos go that far west. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, were you getting bit by spiders and snakes and
I,
seeing crocs, or
you
how did
know,
that go?
I saw one snake in the whole year of Australia.
Oh,
One
that's not that
snake.
bad.
I've been 30 miles out of the little village with an 64 years old mining dude. He was an Australian fella, and I started the fire for the other ones because we've been earlier. And then this, yeah, it was quite small, black with red stripes on it. and this snake was all of a sudden there, and I said, "Hey, there's a snake," and he was, "Oh, okay," picking up the snake
Steve
in
Irwin
his hands,
style.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and I asked him, "Are you not scared about she's biting you?" And he told me, "No. When the snakes know when she bites me, I bite the snake back." So
The circle of life. It's like, don't fuck
yeah,
with me, I'll fuck with you.
yeah, it was
Interesting.
super
I've never
cool.
thought about that. I mean, it's natural. I think it's natural for humans. I mean, I don't know about your presuppositions, but potentially we co-evolved with serpents in the trees and then got to the ground, blah blah blah. It's in our DNA to not like snakes too much. We register them very quickly. But they're not as gross as, like, they're not slimy. People think they're slimy. Snakes aren't slimy. They're actually really kind of cool, but that does not mean I'm like Britney Spears with a fucking boa constrictor on me. I mean, they're still kind of like irksome to me. Um, all right, so you were there for like what, 3 months or a lot longer?
1 year.
1 year
1
you
year
did?
also.
Okay. And then a whole year, that was all you saw as one snake?
Yeah, 1 year.
That's not that
One
bad.
snake.
That's not too harrowing. I mean, considering how deadly the whole continent can be. I was sitting during Christmas at my friend's house, and they were like, "Don't move. There's a spider behind you that's like super fucking deadly." And I was just like,
Oh
"Okay."
fuck.
Yeah.
All right.
So like I mean, I wasn't normally thinking, "Oh my gosh, everything's out to get me." It felt pretty normal, but apparently there's, very venomous things. So, what happened after Australia? I mean, you're all the way out there. Did you come back to Europe, or did you keep kind of
Yeah,
trickling?
I came back to Germany
Hmm.
for 8 months. There, I worked in a barber store in my little village, and we grounded the base for the Basement Tribe and Gateways Records.
So
Like,
that's when you made those tracks.
yeah, yeah, and that's at this time we created our two bands, Gateways and the Basement Tribe.
That's what's up. All right, so a little
After Australia,
observation.
it's
It seems like the barber gig is always on the side hustle. You can kind of just plug in and do that. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So that's always a fallback, I guess you could say, and like a skill set that helps you kind of travel and stuff. Do you find that people, I mean, for the natural products and the natural kind of approach, is that so novel and so unique that people are like, heck yeah, come do this? Or is it hard to sell to people? Or how is how is it
No,
getting
it's not.
clientele?
It's not hard to sell to people. You just have to talk to them and be
Show them
nice.
your
And
hair. Be like, check
yeah,
out what I've got. This is what I'll do for you.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. Or when you have people around, they do Mundpropaganda. They do advertisement for you.
Mm.
When you do a lot of haircuts,
Hmm.
some of them, my friends also, they do advertisement for me, and it's easy when I come back to Germany. So many people waiting there. Hey, can you cut my hair? So I don't need even a job now in
That's what I'm
Germany.
saying. It seems like it
It's
perpetuates
it's
itself. You've
super
set up the
cool. Yeah,
situation pretty well. You got a magic carpet, hair magic carpet ride.
yeah, it's super
Um,
funny.
so what is, and I'll pick up right where you left off with, that's where you guys made those albums and the band started. But I'm kind of just thinking about the hair for now because I don't know, that's what's taking you around a little bit up until that point. What is your philosophy with hair? Some people are like, it's very spiritual. I mean, I'm fucked because I don't have long hair. I just shave it. But what's your theory about hair? I mean, are you like dreadlocks or spirit? I mean, I don't want to pigeonhole you, but like, what's your thinking? Do you have like oh, this is how it is, and everyone should have dreadlocks, or you think that's just an artistic thing for yourself,
No,
or
yeah,
how do you feel
no.
about it?
Yeah, it's for me the most important thing is don't color your hair with shit chemicals or so. That's
Right.
the most important thing. Like how you dress your hair or styling your hair. I can say you have to brush your hair with a real brush, 100 or like 1 minute a day, and it's really good. That's my thing. What I can say to everybody, but the point what I bring on the way is don't use chemical colors, because when would use the black color on my hair
Hmm.
and I would do a foot bath in the same evening,
Hmm.
the foot bath would be
Toxin
clay, like,
filled or
yeah,
whatever.
then you can see the color.
Yeah,
It
it's
would
going
turn
through
to
you.
gray, yeah,
Yeah.
because it goes completely through you. It's really a shit, and you have so much good opportunities with henna. Many people think henna is just red, but you can do so many colors with henna. You just need a little bit more space where you want to have your hair. It's not like you can't have black hair and you need to bleach it up and then you have blonde hair. It's not how it goes with henna. When you're white, you can have black, but when you have black or brown hair, you can't have white or brighter.
Without artificial coloring
Yeah.
and bleaching and the stuff you are anti, which makes sense. I mean, like I said, I haven't had a whole history of hair products or any relationship to it. What with the Phil Collins, Andre Agassi look going on, but yeah, I've always wondered about that. I've had girlfriends who, I think it's kind of hot when girls dye their hair all sorts of cool colors and shit,
Yeah.
but apparently it's not healthy. And other than, I mean, how would I put this? Have you ever thought about trying to take it in a direction where there's ways to improve upon those maybe more radical colors? Like, I don't know if henna comes in like neon pink, probably not. Is that only a chemical way to do it? Or I guess wigs. A girl could wear a wig. Guy could
When
wear a
you
wig.
have blue or pink or something like that, you have wie heißen sie, directions. You have it called directions, more like eine Tönung. It's just a pigment which leaves you on the hair, but after through 2-3 times washing, the color is completely outside. But also with this point, when you have dark hair and put the yellow or the pink on top, it's not gonna be completely bright yellow because you have the dark and you just overlapping the pigments. So
I guess the one thing with the natural or more natural colors is but the difference would be with the chemical stuff, it stays forever or for a long time, and with the natural
Damages
stuff,
your hair.
of course,
the damage stays, but
of course,
the color, when you have the natural hair and put a natural color on it, it stays forever. It stays super long.
okay.
Like when I would put red henna on my hair, it would stay. I could see it in 5 years still. And it's probably a little bit brighter because the sun brights every hair. When you're outside, your hair get brighter after a while. So that's naturally. But
what is henna made of? Like, what's the process
henna
for
leaf?
henna?
It's the henna
Okay,
leaf.
see, you're telling me shit I don't know.
Super fun. You have the henna leaf, and then you have the senes leaf. It's their neighbor plants. The senes leaf don't have an pigment, but it have the good oils who clays around your hair, and the henna has the oil and the good pigment inside as well.
You and leaves, bro. Whether it's Bodhi leaves or henna leaves or marijuana leaves, possibly.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah, I was gonna say I don't smoke right now, but cheers. So you started a project, your two bands at that point when you went back to Germany. What was the kind of idea? Were they like, classmates or friends from the bar, or like how did you meet these people, and what was the vision? Were you guys like, hey, let's do a bunch of mushrooms and swing upside down on a swing, or like what? Because it's pretty heavy shit. Like I'm not that into heavy music, and it was right on the edge of like it was not intolerable. That's not what I want to say, but it's like I could only handle so much because it's just so heavy. But it felt like being kind of buried in sand up to your neck or something, and just having like presence around you. At the same time, it felt like Gandalf meets Tool or something like that. I don't quite know how to explain it.
I'm super influenced about from Tool super much. Gateways
Right.
and Basement Tribe, both of the bands,
Heavily
but
influenced,
also from
dominant
Sleep
kind
and
of stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
I gotta check out Sleep and I feel like when you say I think Sun O, which is like this weird kind of like like, you know what I'm talking about. That's almost the vibe. You don't have that vibe exactly, but it's not surprising you know who they are. Let's put it that way. Like Sun O, yeah, this is like a cult fucking like sound rock or whatever it is. So what was the impetus for the project? Was it your idea, somebody else's, or how did those ideas get birthed?
I come back from Australia. I didn't had any bands at this time, and an younger friend texted me, "Hey, I got a drum kit, and maybe we want to play together, and
Let's jam, kind of
fuck,
thing.
yeah, let's jam. First of all, we jammed in my room, but I live on top of my house, and my father gets really angry because he don't like metal.
You're summoning the devil. Please stop. Whatever's
Exactly.
happening. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm not like I'm a little older than you. I'm probably not your dad's age, but it's like the music has a spirit to it. I don't want to over pigeonhole it. People should check it out. But it's definitely not light-hearted pop. Like it's not like the Beach
No,
Boys or something like that. Yeah.
no, yeah,
So it's more
yeah.
Rammstein-ish. Not even Rammstein because they're more heavy rock, I guess.
Dreadlocked, yeah.
Yeah. So your friend basically said, "Come jam," and what was you guys just jammed a bunch and said, "I like that, I like that, I like that. Let's make it a song."
Yeah, no, it was just the beginnings. We
Hmm.
just practiced our instrument more,
Hmm.
and we found a really nice basement where we could practice. And
Where you could be Tribe.
oh my God, it was such a
Is that what
pleasure
the name
to.
is from? You were like, "We found the basement. We're the Basement Tribe." Is
Yeah,
that the idea?
exactly,
Yeah. Okay.
exactly. It's such a pleasure to have this basement. It's in the neighbor's village. We can drive there by bike. We can smoke there inside. We can be there loud at any time we want. And yeah, it was the beginnings. And some songs we did not recognize yet. Um, they will come out, but they are not recognized. They are from these times as well.
Hmm.
But we wrote a full album, and we
What's the
recognize.
concept behind it? I mean, is it driven by a concept like, oh, like here's the idea, or is it kind of just there's
No,
no wrong answer?
it
It could just
was
be all over the place.
no, it was some slices just mixed
Hmm.
together. Then we recorded it kinda. We are not happy with it, and then we leave it, and then we wrote the second album, which was our first album, what we bring out, which is on YouTube now. So we have some older material what we need to record again
Hidden
until
tracks, Easter
we're
eggs.
happy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's how it works.
From these
Um,
times.
so were you guys playing like
No,
you were recording a lot.
we've
Go ahead.
been not playing at this time actually, because I've just been 8 months in Germany, and then I moved with another friend to Nepal and India for a half year.
More Chariot Card. You're just on the
Yeah,
go, bro.
yeah,
Just like I'm out, I'm dipping.
yeah,
Okay, so you kind of basically it's like Gandalf actually in the Fellowship of the Ring. He's like, "Hey guys," or it's like, "Hey, I'm going on an
yeah.
adventure. See ya. There and back again." So all right, so you kind of planted some seeds, musically speaking, and
Yes.
then you went to Nepal. What was the impetus there? What drove you there? I mean, it's a pretty spot. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, were you like, I've got to go to a shrine or?
In Australia, so many people told me about India, and
Hmm.
I had this huge call about India. And then my really good friend Meet, who is also he's a brilliant death metal guitarist, the best
Hmm.
one I know from hundred of kilometers from my village away. He had also the dream to go to Nepal and to see those four Buddhist places, because he's really interested about Buddhism. And
Are you not as much as
not
you
as
learned?
much as him,
Okay,
but
yeah, he's like
I'm
way
still
into it.
really I
Yeah,
was also in the same percent interested about Hinduism, I would
right.
say.
Okay, so you're
Uh,
coming more from the Hindu angle, and he was coming from the Buddhist angle more. And I guess Buddhism comes from Hinduism ultimately. Am I right about that?
yeah,
I don't even know. Okay, yeah. It's like don't quote me on any of this
David,
shit. I have no clue.
you
probably.
gotta check out some David Ewing Jr.
Yeah, I
Connections.
saw the first 5 minutes, and then I was interrupted. That's
Yeah, but
What
super
is he saying?
interesting.
They're Tartarians or something? What's going on?
no, the basic idea, just put it
Yeah,
very
Cliff
simply, is
Notes.
to simply compare the story of Buddha with Jesus, for example, how similar they are. I mean, this is actually old Zeitgeist movie information to anybody who ever saw it. So this is like old that these stories are similar.
Well,
But what
they're archetypes at least, right?
yes, but David Ewing Jr. goes on about, which everyone is wondering, you can find his videos on my channel, is how they relate to each other, and in particular, which was the original. And it seems that there may have been something proto from which everything was derived, and potentially also hiding the idea that maybe everyone actually was believing in the same thing. And just later, if a civilization is destroyed, you just tell them, oh, you all believed in different things, although it's all
Yeah,
the same,
okay.
just for
Yeah.
divide and conquer
Yeah.
purposes. That's the basic
Politicization.
idea. Yeah. It's the basic idea.
Interesting.
I mean, most simple. Just to give one simple example, with India and Pakistan, they were one country, and then suddenly they herded all the Muslims in one direction, and everyone else had to become Hindu and so on. And so it's always a game with the organized religion, of course. How to divide people. So.
Oh, consciousness, you silly little thing! What the fuck? What is this dream all about, really? Yeah, it's funny with that stuff because yeah, well, Raphael's whole trip is more on like, or not when I say whole trip, his present interests include resets and culture, where does it come from and stuff. So he's been researching those rabbit holes more than I have.
And we are in a culture reset right now, so it's maybe time.
Astrologically, I'd agree.
We understand what's happening, so maybe we can come out on top,
Hopefully,
or
learn to integrate it. I'm not exactly sure. So tell us about Nepal and India. They're very different things, but tell us about your journey there. And what are like if you want to go through each of the temples or not, whatever. I have no clue about any of that stuff.
The really nice time was we've been 2 months on 3,000 meters on Tibetan Buddhist temple. It's called Namo Buddha. It was a secret tip from a guide we met on our trek.
Spot.
Yeah, it was a super secret spot. Not many buses driving over there, and all the tourists been Indians or Nepalese, but no white people at all. Like super
no Caucasus mountaineers.
It was unique vintage. Really, it was super beautiful. We woke up every day in the morning around 5. Go to the puja. Had breakfast, had lunch with them, at evening meal, around in the afternoon there was also puja with tea break, 10 minutes in between, then the prayers going on. And it was so massive, because the first time I went into the monastery, we sit around the wall, and the monks went sit in middle lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a few instruments, some huge chime bowls, some trumpets, and I closed my eyes and I heard the intro from Highlight Tribe, Free Tibet. Then the chime bowls.
Right.
Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. And suddenly I feel a drum. I don't know. They had 2 drums with the size 4 square meters. I didn't recognize them as I went into the monastery, because they are so big. 2 of them,
like the size of a room almost.
Yeah. Oh my god!
Yeah.
The huge monastery was great.
The original rave.
Oh my god! Yeah, and I really liked it. I wanted to stand up and dance, but they all sit and pray the Om Mani Padme Hum, and 2 of those huge drums. Oh my god! It flashes your whole body, your whole brain get vibrated in these situations, and
it's a sonic bath. I mean, basically,
yeah.
It's like standing next to the speaker at a concert.
Yeah,
kind of, but not really. I mean, the original
with acoustic sound. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
I was just wondering, so now I understand why I love meditating at parties, And actually, Tim brought me to one of my now most favorite dub parties by Bass Trace. You were the one, actually, and I just remembered, because tomorrow there'll be another party in Vienna. With 2 acts that I even know now, because in the beginning I didn't know any of bass music. And Tim was the one who brought me there, and it's in the same location where it was originally, which is like below the metro in Vienna. There's like a metro line that goes overground, and below you have these arches, also kind of old world architecture probably. And in there you have clubs and so on, and it's a really really cool atmosphere. They have like the best speakers tuned for bass music, and now I know why I like to meditate there. It's the same practice apparently as the monks do. So
hey, super close.
Yeah.
So what is Padme Hum or whatever you were saying? What does that mean? And what's the? Do you either of you know much about that or not? I know.
I reply first, then I'll let you know, Tim, and you can confirm maybe what I'm saying or not. So I actually looked this up, and this is actually a fun fact, let's say.
Yeah.
So officially, Om Mani Padme Hum, I think according to I wanted to say the Buddha, but the Dalai Lama, there is one translation, the jewel in the lotus, and what it actually refers to is the unity of method and wisdom. And in my understanding, so combining action and knowledge.
Yeah, theory and practice. Yeah.
And in my translation, and this is where I knew it from hip hop initially, you better act like and this
Which
doesn't
is his
mean
name. Yeah.
pretend to do something, but act according to your knowledge. That's how I would translate it, and that's how it makes the most spiritual sense to me too.
I agree
There's other meaning.
100%. Super cool.
Word. I figured. I know I'd heard you say it before, and I've heard it before, but it's just not a cultural icon. I'm just very unaware about that. So cool. Act like you know comes from that. There's a little Easter egg there. So, what when you were you? How would I put it? It's a temple. I get that. It's one of 4 temples. Was it like an ashram where you like kind of go there and
It wasn't one of those 4 pilgrimage places.
it was a totally side quest.
It was
thing.
a super side quest thing.
All right. Was it like in exchange for money, or is it like you work and you stay here, or how does that work?
You pay there
Okay.
€5 and you
Yeah,
can stay and you can eat with them.
So it's a business, which I'm not against, but it's like an inn, almost more or less.
Also not. There are not many tourists. Most of them are monks. Like we've been 10 tourists maybe
Right.
over.
So like be part of our lives, just give us some money to pay for the food, I
Yeah,
guess, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Makes total sense.
They've been rich, kind of. I reckon they've been quite good. It was not a dodgy monastery or something. It was kind of new builded, and they had a lot of help. The Tibetans from Nepal and also from India, I think, because they get away from their own land.
Yeah,
that's
it's like a
that's why I
retreat
think.
for the retreaters. It's like,
Yeah.
where do we go on vacation when
Yeah,
we're used to?
importance of resets, and right there, by the way, in terms of cultural dividing up people and hurting them, the whole Tibet thing. No, I don't know much about it, but
No, me neither.
7 years in Tibet's all I know about that shit, which I watched with my nana, and I was like, that's the Dalai Lama. So next time you see him, realize this is a story, but that's the story according to Brad Pitt or whatever the fuck. So, all right. So the super secret place wasn't one of these things. So was the idea like, was it a work stay thing? Because I've done that before in Switzerland, where it's like, oh, I'm going to help at this hostile think tank thing, and I wasn't really paying that much. Or was it more like I mean, it's a weird way to put it. Was it more like a when I say resort, that like people get an idea of that, but it's like, was it more like a, hi, you're our guest and you're paying to be here at the spiritual sites? Like, I'm just trying to get my head around, like, how do Westerners deal with the culture in that sense? Like, when you're like, I'm on a pilgrimage, are they like, hell yeah, bunk up, bro? Like, high fives? Or are they like, cool, well, we'll give you good food, but you got to pay us? Like, and I'm not against money or anything. I'm not really like trying to harp on it. I'm just wondering how the model works.
I think on this special monastery they don't had any model, but on those 4 pilgrimage places they had this model. There you have these 2-3 monasteries or temples there you could go as a pilgrimage, but the most temples at one of those 4 special places, they don't have a room for staying for longer.
Right.
And at Namo Buddha, that we could eat with them was just about request. They don't announce
Wasn't an
that
all-inclusive
you can
meal.
come
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
and do this.
So it's almost like the Vatican or something, where it's like you can come through, but you can't really stay.
Yeah.
Where were you guys crashing at? Like a nearby like bed? Like where were you staying? Like camping, or what was?
No, there was a few houses next to the monastery.
Right.
One of the older, like he was a monk in the monastery, then he decided to become a teacher in the neighbor's village next to the monastery, and he's now the teacher for Buddhist philosophy, and he's earning a little bit more money
Yeah.
and
That makes
building
sense. It's like, I
a
live here, you can
bigger
crash
house,
here. Yeah. Makes sense.
and yeah, we paid him €3 like for a night.
That's nothing. That's
That's
the
nothing
price of rice. Yeah.
for 2
It's like,
people. Oh
whatever.
my god! And
Yeah.
he was super kind. He was telling me so many things. He was taking time for us, and telling us things in
So what
from
was
Buddhism.
what language? He spoke English or
He
German?
spoke super good English because he is a
Okay.
teacher, and they also had English in school.
Right. That makes sense. So, what were the kind of the cultural? Well, how was the cultural exchange? What were you? I'm sure he was like, "Hell yeah, there's Westerners," or whatever. I'm sure it's unique
Yeah,
to him at that level. So,
yeah.
what were you thinking? How would I put this? What were some of the highlights of the cultural exchange? What was some stuff that he was laying on you guys that you maybe had never heard or thought of? Buddhist
Yeah,
wise.
he has so many stories about the old Buddhism, what I never know about some older gods. There's so many side stories along the Buddhist path,
Hmm.
which I never heard, and also my friend never heard. And he knew some names, and I read so many things down, and he told me many words in Hindi or Hindu,
Like
and
Sanskrit,
not Sanskrit. It's
yeah,
north. It's the northern
Tibetan
language. What
style.
you
Yeah,
also not. It's like between Nepal and North India. You speak this kind of North Hindi,
hmm.
and but I can go to an Indian restaurant and order my dishes, and they all the
Like, oh
time really
shit.
happy, and they,
Yeah.
wow, this white bread knows my language.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to get off too far off track, but I'm kind of curious because obviously you're there, you're learning about Hinduism and Buddhism and stuff. What is your worldview on things? And like, were you raised like a? I mean, I don't know all Germans; they might be post-Christian, but I imagine you were maybe raised with kind of Christian ideas, at least
Yeah,
neutral Western ideas.
yeah.
When did you start dipping more into the Eastern mysticism kind of flavor? And what are your presuppositions is what I want to say, but it's like I'm
Mm.
not trying to nail you down. I'm just like, okay, well, you're clearly checking things out. How do you look at this? Are we in a dream? Like, what do you think what's going on, bro?
I think it also started with Zeitgeist,
Oh, the
with this
film?
Zeitgeist movie
Oh yeah,
2015.
yeah,
I reckon, yeah, around this, not 15, 2002,
yeah.
around this, yeah. And but
It's
then
kind of
I
a
get,
punk rock movie. It was like
yeah,
fucking question everything, man. And I was like,
yeah.
oh yeah, he's not wrong. I guess, yeah. It's 9/11. That does look kind of shady. That was my favorite part, really. The 9/11 stuff. The whole like Christianity is not what we think. To me, that's just like yeah, archetypes repeat. So it's not like how would I put it? I didn't become an When I see that, it doesn't make me go atheist. All of a sudden, I'm like, well, there's deeper roots of the causals of these loops or whatever, and we're like playing with the same stories over and over and over, or whatever's going on, as opposed to that might be the loaded dice for someone to go, I told you there's no God, fuck all this stuff. It's like
Yeah.
I didn't get that vibe. So you're clearly still spiritual. Like what's been your pursuit for truth? Like how do you, and even in your acoustic song I just heard, like the key, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Um you're searching, you're mystical about it, and like, so what are your kind of presuppositions? And I'm not trying to nail you like this is what you'll forever think, but like, are we in the mind of God, or like a Brahma thing going on, or how are you breaking down the reality that we find ourselves in? There's no
Yeah,
wrong answer. I mean, you could be like, I don't
there's
know,
no
fuck it.
wrong answer. No, I'll bring it to the point what when when you speak I am,
Mhm.
the the fullness and the void at the same time, and the endless space which rocks up after you be present, after you say I am. This is one of the core things for me and for many people which binds us together, because we are and we are existing, and that's one of our roots.
So kind of like, I mean, I don't know much about Hinduism. I know a little more about Buddhism, but almost like the Indra's net thing, where it's like, hey, we're all kind of just like nodes on the fucking blanket of time space or
Yeah,
whatever's going on,
yeah,
and we reflect infinitely all the
yeah,
which ways. Word.
yeah. I also really found the view I had once in Varanasi. I saw a Buddhist temple, then a mosque. Then I
Hmm.
saw a mosque. Then I saw a little church, and next to it I saw a Hindu Shiva temple, all in the same row,
Hmm.
all next
There
to
was a
each
ley
other.
line there, I bet. No, I'm kidding.
Kind of thing with four churches, and they're not burning, and they're not. It was such a nice picture just to have them next to each other in some kind of way, in peace.
Right, participating individuals yet harmonized, Because usually
Yeah.
people, what starts happening is people, identify with something, and then
I
whatever's
don't want
not
to
identified,
identify with any religion completely or something, but everybody needs to pick out what,
a flavor.
yeah, pick some flavors out what also resonates with you, and then you grow. I reckon
Mm.
that's for me. That's how I use the religions to grow. And since that, I can see them in different perspectives. Because with 15, I was like, oh, I don't want to hear anything about God or Jesus or anything at all.
Right, the nihilistic kind
Yeah,
of
no, of
mode.
course.
Yeah. Thanks, Nietzsche. Like, yeah, that kind of mode. I think everybody has to go through that dark night of the soul. I mean, let's put it this way. It's a yin yang thing. Sometimes you're going to be on the mountaintop being like, oh my gosh, I am God incarnate, or whatever. All is one. And then sometimes you're going to be like, this is a shithole and we're just grinding out and entropy and death is all I see. Or, there's different times for, in Ecclesiastes in the Bible, it says, there's a season for everything. It seems like the wheel turns. So it's like, it's never exactly just one thing. Actually, I saw this really dope Buddhist art the other day. I made a post with the picture a long time ago. I forgot about, and it shows. I'm gonna horribly depict this. Basically, it shows like I think an elephant or maybe a man walking, and it's black, and it starts getting like lighter and lighter, and I'll have to send it to you. I'll find it and be like, check this shit out, because it's like almost a story. It seems like I'm sure there's some cultural kind of like
Yeah.
Aesop's fable or Brothers Grimm
Fixed.
style kind of story about it,
Yeah.
but at the same time it was showing kind of transmutation through polarity alchemy. I don't really know how to explain it. It's like
Okay.
it takes both.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll find it if I can and send it to you. But
Sounds
all right.
wicked.
It is. I'm not like all about we've had a Tibetan artist on here who's British, but he was in a Tibetan, he does like what's it called? Calligraphy, kind of like on a high level. And I think he was Raphael, do you remember what kind of sect it was? Like Theravedic or something like that?
Maybe Tashi Manox is his name.
Yeah, it was cool. Anyway, whatever. I'm just talking about bullshit now. So, yeah, there's all sorts of art and culture that I'm not aware of. Obviously, we're coming more from like Marvel and Star Wars and whatever, Hans Christian Andersen and all these weird things. So Nepal, I mean, you kind of gave us a drive by of it, but
Yeah.
what were some of the highlights in your mind? Like what stands out? Oh my gosh, I got this Bodhi tree stuff. That secret spot, that's pretty dope story.
Yeah, the secret spot was one of my favorite places, and I really want to go there again. But the second really big thing what happened was the Kumbh Mela in India, and it's the holy wash, holy cleaning in the Ganga, where all the priests are going there and wash themselves, wash the sins free, burn them out, kinda. And this event is all 12 years. And randomly, we've picked that year where the Kumbh Mela was near to Varanasi, and it was on our way to Bodh Gaya, to the last spot of our destination from our journey. And it was an event over 3 months, with the peak was 2 weeks of 100 million people at the same event.
I've heard of this. I mean, I think I've heard of it, but I think it even has to do with like Jupiter cycles in astrology. I think that's part of what's going on, where it's like
Yeah.
every 12 years it resets or whatever. I didn't mean to interrupt you, and fuck my computer for always cutting out what the hell is going on. So anyway, keep going with your story though. You were in the middle of it, and I was like, I think I know what you're talking
It
about.
was the craziest event I've ever been. So many people, you can't imagine, from side to side. You just see lights.
What's up with food and bathrooms? I mean, that's a weird Western kind of way to put it, but it's like I'm sure people had food and went to the bathroom properly or whatever. But it's like
food
I've always
was
wondered about how that works in big, like 100, millions of people gathered at a religious kind of thing. How does it function? Is my like first thought. It's like, how is this working? It's not like chaos. It's like Woodstock or something. It's working, but like how?
Yeah, it different. I would say they did it quite good for that many people, and for land with not that many opportunities
Mhm.
for everything. But they had enough water taps all kilometers along. They had huge stands with lights on top and sound speakers, and you have all kilometers a little house where you can go inside, and you pick a number, and then you have time to speak in a microphone who is in this little hat, and then you're on the radio over the whole festival.
What?
When people losing their children, they don't have phones, and
that
not
makes
any
sense.
people, nobody have phone. Like it was
Little Billy, where are you? Paging Little Billy.
yeah, exactly.
There
And
it
I
is.
and I did not understand what they speaking all the time. And at some point, I asked. It was a friend at this time. Uh, like, what did they say? And it's a radio over the whole festival, and they find themselves back again, and they organize some pujas or some prayers at this and this times. But there was no timeline, there was no list, there was no um, order line. They had a lot of free food stores. They had the Ganges, the river in the middle of this event, where the
Right.
people could go inside. And my mother told me as we went to the festival, because anybody's jumping into the river, you don't have to jump. And I really didn't want to go to jump. But at the third day, a little children rocks up and he said, "Yeah, come with me, come inside." And then, yeah, of course, I went into the Ganga, and I'm still alive. And I
Right.
don't.
Right.
Yeah,
Sanitation is what your mom was worried about. She's like, you're gonna get a flesh-eating disease or whatever is gonna
yeah,
happen.
So I'll just put this here briefly. This is just something I heard, and I cannot completely verify this, but that maybe supposedly during these festival times originally, maybe also when there was less industry or something, that the water may actually have had a very certain high frequency energy quality during these times of ritual cleansing.
Look at all the
So it
attention and
maybe,
intention, right?
I mean, even just that, yeah.
Yeah.
But also originally it would be tuned to certain cycles, like you said, whatever this relates to. So this was actually be very rejuvenating by the environmental quality. But of course, if we talk about water and intention, I mean that's huge. If you have 100 million people focusing on cleansing, it probably doesn't matter even if the water is dirty or whatever. Or
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was
my
such a
Western
power.
mind went really quickly to like logistics, and I'm like, how is this working? But it seems to
In
work.
India, everything is working, even though you don't understand why, and maybe it takes forever. But it's still working.
Well, both of you guys have gone. I have not yet gone to India, and it seems like a very psychedelic situation. It seems like a trip, basically. I mean, that's a weird way to put it, but it seems like it's just like nothing. Everything's bleeding, and it's all colors and shapes and sounds, and
Yeah,
it somehow works. But I mean, my dad went. Ironically, my dad used to work for a company, and back in the I think 2000s when my parents were divorcing, he went to I think New Delhi for 3 months or somewhere. But basically, he outsourced his own job, which is like ironic. He trained people, and then they were like, "All right, we don't actually need you anymore. We got like a call center here for that." So anyway, but he was like, "It's the craziest place he's ever been." He said because like not only well he was like everybody was very clean, like they don't have much in our model of like materialism, like they might have a couple outfits or something like that, but they stay their hair and like they take their hygiene really seriously
yeah,
considering, and their
yeah.
clothes are clean. Like I would think, look at some kids from Burning Man or something, it's like at the end of the day they look like they've been playing like Pigpen and fucking Charlie Brown or whatever.
True.
Whereas that doesn't seem to be the case. That doesn't mean weird shit isn't happening. He's like, you would just watch somebody take a shit on the street, like who's more homeless or whatever. It's just like it was all happening. It was just a big happening, basically. So anyway, yeah. Any kind of thoughts on that you want to talk about? You can. I can't relate to it, but Raphael totally can.
Oh, yeah, this event I've heard 2 times, 48 hours Jairam pray, puja.
Prayer for 2 days.
2 days Jairam, and the vocalist they switching after couples of hours because you don't have a
You'll
throat
just shoot your
after
pipes. Yeah.
3, 4, 5 hours. Jairam, Jairam, Jai Jairam,
They
Jairam,
need to hire Sun
Jairam, Jai
O, bro.
Jairam. Hey, super full and full on power all the time, and we
That'll
found
do so. That does stuff. I mean, that
that
how would I put it? I was
rises.
trying to explain
Yeah,
this to
yeah,
my Christian family. I was like, "What do you guys think you're doing with praise and worship?" I mean, whether what you're objectifying, like God and all this stuff, is true. There's real effects with sound and energy. I mean, I'm not
absolutely.
an atheist, obviously. Maybe it's not. I'm not an atheist, but you can work your neurological monkey suit or whatever up into very hyper states just doing what you're talking about. Like if you get into like a mantra kind of song mode over and over and over, weird things can happen. I remember once, and this is some stupid Gemini shit. You'll appreciate this. Just say like a word. I mean, it's what mantras are, but say a word like peanut butter like 1,000 times, and at some point it just like loses all meaning, and you just get all
Everything,
dislocated. You're like,
yeah.
what is my mouth? What is language? What is happening? Like these are just like, why have I ascribed meaning to this? What is cultural? What is culture? You know, it's like it goes down rabbit holes. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but so you were in this 48-hour trance-a-thon or whatever is going on, like singing religious thing. That'll
All
get
the
people
time.
into an ecstatic state. I mean, drug-free even.
Drug-free. Like,
Yeah.
of course, all the barbers smoking their pot officially everywhere, and it's allowed. And these times, everybody is just really free. I saw police walking there hand in hand. Really, I never saw such a festival, such an event, and I didn't saw any violent. I didn't hear any yelling or screaming. When we have the littlest village events with 2,000 people, everybody drinks up and smash each other.
Alcohol has a tendency to
There
make
are 100 million people and they're just peaceful. Really,
But that's also an interesting question about, you know, order and self-organization. I think where you can see it the most easiest, I guess, Tim, you've also been to some big cities probably, or any bigger city. I mean, I've only really been to Mumbai, but anyhow, technically you have traffic lights, you know, but still, as long as you can go, everything is full of cars, basically.
Yeah.
And on certain areas even, I mean, I only had to do this once really, but you wanted to cross, and the only way to cross was to literally do like this, you know, because I was watching how the guys were doing it,
the Red Sea. You're
like
just
this,
like, oh
you
my
know,
god,
and
I gotta
walk,
make it.
Yeah.
walk. You know, you don't have to run, you just walk, and you know.
So
use
life in India is an act of
course.
faith, is what you're saying.
Well, that for sure, but also
Super
this
interactive.
I just think with the traffic, it's a good example or metaphor, because here it's all about self-organization, and everyone actually has to watch out. They cannot only rely on the traffic lights or whatever, because a cow may come next door or whatever. Yeah. So they actually pay attention themselves, and that is always a superior system when the control is not delegated to a centralized authority, but everyone, to the degree they can, actually uses their own ears and eyes and whatever to make sure everyone is safe and clean or whatever. And it sounds
More open source culture. That's what you're saying.
No, it's more distributed. The control is more distributed because people are not just like in the West, oh, I'm waiting for whatever the announcement or something, but stuff can organize themselves because everyone contributes. It's a different mindset, but it shows that then even with 100 million people, you can apparently have a very peaceful event, which I want to see happening, you know, in Europe. Yeah, good
You
luck.
got to think that the culture is influenced, I mean, obviously by the religion, but it's like Western thinking tends to be very hierarchically, you know, dominance. Everything has a dominance hierarchy. So it's like, it is what it is at a level. But it seems like when you think there's, you know, a million gods and they're all kind of just happening at once, like maybe that really kind of sets your neurology up for functioning in a mode that's a little more surfing the internet mode, as opposed to like, you know, pull the ticket, wait for the number to be called mode or whatever. I don't know. I'm just musing out loud. I have no real answer there. It was just like, I wonder how much the programs really do affect the outcome of the participation of the culture at large. In any event, keep talking about this 48-hour thing if you want, or we can keep going and talk about other stuff. That's where you were last.
Yeah, after that event, we went to Varanasi, which is the city of death for the Hindus.
Right.
When you get burned in Varanasi, it's a huge honor because all your sins are burned, and they have a kilometer inside the city, on the water, where you're not allowed to use electrician, and that's the place where the people get burned, and you just have firelight, or you see the
crematory lights, basically.
It has such an interesting
probably heavy
mood. The whole city is on the other one side. Then you have the Ganga, and then you have the land of the death, or the death people. Nobody are allowed to build there because it's the metaphoric place for the people beyond the worlds, or in between the worlds.
Like when you say, like I'm presuming it's a heavy vibe, kind of like New Orleans has a voodoo vibe, so it's kind of heavier feeling maybe. what was it like somber? I guess maybe more, and people are just like thinking about life and death. Or I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a huge celebration like holy holiday or holy or whatever. The colors and everything. It seems like it's more like a all right, ashes to ashes kind of place.
Yeah, yes, but they singing, they celebrating in a different way as we do.
Mm.
And once I ask them, like, what did they sing next to the burning body, in when you say it, and my translator told me the mantra what they sing is translated like death, death, come even when I'm the next.
Hmm. Well, there's a
So
level of acceptance there for
there
sure. It's
is a
just like
yeah, they are
nobody
super
gets out of here
agreeable
alive.
with, they're good with this. They're good with the death. They're good with Kali. They're good with all the goddess. Even then, when the meaning of them that they are taking their lives at some point, they totally agree.
Was there? I mean, this is a kind of morbid question. I'm vegan, so I don't even eat meat. But it's like, what did it smell like? Did it? Was it like, oh my gosh, there's like death in the air, or was it like, did it smell like I don't know, bacon, or like how did it smell? That's a weird way to put it, but
Yeah, yeah. You have. I mean, 90% is the normal mixture of wood. Then
mm,
you have 5% of incense which are
hmm
around, and then you have 5% of a yeah sweet meat kind of smell
oh,
also. But
interesting.
it was not so intense that you couldn't go there. I think anybody could go there, go a little bit in contact with this energy.
Well, that's a heavy place to go energetically and symbolically. Um, I guess I'm glad for you that you went. I don't know if I'd ever want to go there because I don't know how I would. I'm not saying I won't, but it's like I don't know how I would participate well with that. I'd be like asking stupid questions like, What is going on?" Um,
Hey,
so what?
what I have something to say.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the Agori Babas told me, like the Agori Babas, they're those Babas who, yeah, who are the closest to death. They are
Are
also
those the
the
guys that like cover themselves in ash and like drink from
no,
skulls and all that? Okay,
those are the Naga Babas, and those
okay,
are the warrior Babas. They're fighting with the Trihul and always naked and ash. But the
yeah.
Agori Babas, they are the black Babas,
hmm
closest to the death. They're doing rituals also with alcohol, which nobody else
Nobody
does.
drinks really. Yeah.
But they drinking to some rituals, and they want to come death as close as possible in their rituals, and they're also using skulls and all the things, and they fishing some people who went who taken to the Ganga, which are completely sin free, like children's under 12 years.
hmm
When they're
hmm
dying, you put them in the Ganga without burning. When you get bitten by a black viper, you get into the Ganga without burning.
Hmm.
And you have some people also inside, dead people inside the Ganga,
Like
and
bodies is what you're saying. Like kind of yeah,
bodies,
yeah.
and the Agodi Babas sometimes take a little piece of them and eat them while they're rituals because they want to come death super close, and that's one of those things,
That
to
is
eat a little bit
gnarly.
of yeah.
It's like I'm vegan, but that's like I mean, cannibalism is pretty tricky. Okay, Raphael, I'm kind of curious. So alcohol, I mean, I'm not even trying to judge it too much, but it's like, wow.
And
So booze
those
really gets
guys,
you close to the dark stuff, I guess, or death.
for me, those people are, they seem to be
They
like
were doing their trip
same
authentically.
same
Yeah,
accept level as all the other babas
schools of
and
thought.
sadhus. Some
Yeah.
of them, some babas are in ashrams, some not. But the Agori babas, they never go to ashrams for longer. They're most of the time living outside or alone. But in Varanasi, where I saw them, the people rock up to them and asking them life-changing questions and
Huh.
giving them donations as to any other Baba else. So it was an interesting thing to see.
It's like, here's $2. Don't eat the floating baby, please. Or something. I know I can be terrible. I know. But
Just
Raphael,
had
I'm
to
kind of curious of what your thoughts on that. That's heavy shit. I mean, that doesn't happen in the West too often.
Yeah, also I can't speak about, particular, whatever sects or something. I only know I met one guy in particular. He may even have been Indian. He's been to Nepal, I think. And he also talked to me about like his teacher and how he was like meditating at cemeteries and stuff like that. I'm not sure how that relates, but he was also, I think he had a drinking problem, at least when I had met him. So, but he even talked about that, and maybe this was somehow related. And also here, of course, I don't know, which is the correct way to do it or something. But like in a most overall sense, I mean, number one, I would say the important thing is, of course, these individuals already were dead, and this is all done with a particular mindset. There's
A circle of life kind
much
of
worse
thing.
types of this behavior, which I'm not gonna explain about further. And just as a societal or archetypal thing, it just obviously makes sense to be kind of chill with all aspects of life overall. And if we see ourselves like a mycelial network as a complex system as all humans, it would make sense if in totality we are in every position in terms of consciousness, where we can be while we are still alive, so in terms of close to death, close to life. And especially if you consider death or whatever happens, maybe reincarnation in Hinduism, as a part of life, then life itself can become much more meaningful and also relaxed. At least that's always how I see it, because if you're afraid of it, you're always running from it. You're running from your grave all your life, and you're dead before you know it because you were only stressed all the time, so great, so yeah.
It's funny because you're saying it takes like the spectrum of color or whatever. It's like that's the dark gray, clearly about as close to the black as you could get.
Yeah.
Not evil, not so much evil. I'm not saying that, but
I'd
it's like
rather have that,
vampire?
than people killing each other or whatever, plotting to murder each other, whatever it is, So
Yeah.
I don't know.
India makes it work. I'll have to go at some point because it's like I said, it seems like a a bad analogy is like a mall food court where it's just like everything's working somehow. How is a taco in a Chinese shop in a
It's a super
Abercrombie
mess
and
ever.
Fitch? What the fuck?
Yeah,
That's
but
such a
it's
bad
beautiful.
idea model. I don't go to malls often ever. They're kind of a dead thing. I don't know if you did shopping malls in Europe as much. If you guys do that, I mean, I know you have stores, but there's malls like in the 80s
Yeah,
or whatever. It's like
yeah.
those are like dinosaurs around here now. There's a couple, I guess, but they're mostly abandoned and just creepy. So, yeah, I mean, whatever you want to talk about, we can keep talking about India, or we can move towards what you're up to these days, or whatever is clever.
The last point, the last big point on our journey was Budgaya, what we spoken before, and it was the most
With the leaf, yeah.
with the leaf. Yeah, it's the most holy place for the Buddhists, and it's also a holy place for not Buddhists in all types of. I saw super many pilgrims at this place and so many temples. Like on each pilgrim place of these big four special places, there are 8 Quadratkilometer, square kilometers of temples from Tibetan. Then the next one is Sri Lanka. Then you have Thailand. Then you have Cambodia, and
So different styles.
Yeah, in different styles, and in most of them there are also monks, but not in the most of them
It's a
you're
World's
allowed
Fair,
to
Raphael.
to go there, to sleep there. And yeah, the last step was in Budgaya. We had 2 weeks of 35 degrees. It was super hot. Yeah.
Sweltering. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. But we had such a nice connection with the locals over there, and they bring us around some old, rotten temples next to the nearest hills. And we've been with them in a sun ceremony where 10,000 people rock up a hill at night, just through the jungle, through the forest,
In the dark?
in the dark, to pray and
sunrise.
celebrate the sunrise in the morning, and to have a little wash or even just a little head wash on the lake on top of the mountain.
You know that
And
started with some guy on mushrooms being like, "I'm freaking out. I'm just gonna close my eyes till
yeah,
fucking dawn." And everyone's like, "Hey, that's a great idea. There is a lagoon at the top. Road
let's
trip."
do this.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
10,000 people. Oh my god, it was such a mess to go there. And on 90% of the way, I was standing on the hill.
Mhm.
Around me, thousands of peoples, and there was this really small last path to go up on top of the mountain.
Right, like a
And
pass.
and I was standing there thinking, oh fuck, this cost me another hour just to waiting there and standing there. Then something bites me in, like, from the back into my knee, into my leg, and I turned my head, and there was a huge goat try to eating my
A goat?
pants. Yeah, a goat eating my pants, and there was this one fella bringing up his goat for blessing the goat on top of the mountain. Like some of them doing this, blessing them always at the shrines on top, and then bringing them down.
My lucky goat. He's gonna stay lucky.
Yeah, and the
You gotta
goat.
keep the funk alive. Bring the goat. I was wondering. Okay, so you were going through a forest at night. I mean, I guess at some point it clears up a little, but it's like you kind of answered it. But that's a domestic animal. But I was like, I wonder how the animals feel about this. Where they're like just chilling in the woods. It's like, oh shit,
No,
here
no,
they
no, no.
come.
But probably they get used to. Sometimes they do 4 or 5 journeys like this in their lifetime before they get eaten, because
Word.
they really take care about the blessings about their meat. I would say they
Mm.
bless the food at 5 temples before they eat them, and it's, yeah, a respectful way. A more respectful way is just buying it in the supermarket and putting them on the table.
Yeah, yeah, we're very
But yeah,
disconnected from our food processes. But I don't know if I would carry. Well, I don't know if you were familiar with Adam Sandler. He had this old comedy sketch CD from back in the day, which I wouldn't necessarily suggest. But when I was about in 4th or 5th grade, like 12 years old, 10 years old, it's called "What the Hell Happened to Me," and there's this sketch with a goat on it, and it's like this Rastafarian goat. It's like, "Hey, I took you guys to the Reggae festival, the reggae
yeah.
festival," and they're like, "Hey," I mean, it's weird. It's a weird sketch. It's actually really not that funny. I showed my girlfriend it, who's actually from Lisbon. She's you're in Portugal now, so I was like, oh, I don't know if you're in Lisbon, but yeah. When you said the goat, I was just like, oh my god, the goat from Adam Sandler's voice came in mind. I was like, he got to the mountain. What the fuck? So you got bit by a goat, which
I
is like,
get
I
bitten
don't
by
know.
the goat just wanted to eat my pants. I
He
get
was just
this good.
hungry. He was just
Yeah, I got this
bored, kind of.
huge good pants, and then I turned my head, and the
Like they're
owner of
hemp
the
pants,
goat.
you know, bro. You get it. So you get to the top, and there's 10,000
No, no,
people,
I
and a little looker.
didn't get on the top. I waited
Oh,
there, and I had to wait, and then there was this granny holding onto my shoulder and onto my bamboo stick, which I had with me. So now we're standing there on the mountain. Many people. It was a huge mess. It was horrible to go there, go through there, and with the granny on my side, I thought it will take me 4 or 5 hours. But in
yeah.
this moment, the granny started to walk with me with my bamboo stick, and I was following her because I also holding my bamboo stick. And
It's like, whose stick is this? My
the
stick or your
people
stick?
make space, and I
Yeah.
walked with the granny up to the top. In the night, like, it was magical. They really respected the old granny, and like me as the side dish as well.
We
Coming
got to
up
write a
with
song
them.
called Grannies and Goats, although that might not
Yeah.
sound right to some people. You would know what it means.
Yeah.
And you would enjoy that. Dude, you've got some crazy adventures in Nepal and India. I mean, I'm not like I have to go there. I'm not like so hard on that I'm like, oh my god, I'll die if I don't go. But you're making it sound more like advent a weird adventure land than I realized. I
It's
mean,
super
I've always
cool.
wondered like how do people make it work because
It's
I
really
think it's
hard to like imagine because it is like a different mindset. In the most simple way, one could say it's like this east-west divide, or maybe there's something else, but this is just, naming it in a certain way. But there certainly is a higher base level of chaos, but this also means synchronicity can strike much harder, just like Tim explained,
yeah.
So it can be the most impossible thing, but everything opens up because it's not so regulated, because otherwise we are expecting everything is working, red light, green light, it's all very structured. But if the base level of chaos is higher, this is how I would explain it consciousness wise,
Yeah.
then all kinds of things can
It's more
happen.
like jazz, I
People are
guess.
more
Like
flexible, to
yeah.
adaptable.
Mhm.
But it makes me
Yeah.
think of Where's Waldo or something. I'm like, it seems like I don't dislike people. I like people, but it's like the seas of people I hear. You're like, I was amidst 10,000 people. I'd be like, I don't know if I'd Love that.
I need the granny and the goat, and then you'll be on top fast. So it's
Right. Giddy up.
Yeah, it
So
was the closing story from the
India trip.
in Nepal trip, and really have to recommend Nepal double plus, because when you're out of Kathmandu, you have all this crazy rushness, and you don't have this anymore. In India, of course, there are many people, and when you don't want to have so much contact with so many people, go to Nepal, because there you have this shanty place, you have the Himalayas. There,
More space,
yeah,
basically.
they are not ski lifts on top of the mountains. They are raw. They're free completely,
Right.
and you have the space.
That's what's up. So you got back from India and Nepal. Did you head back to? Did you go from there to Portugal, or how have you gotten to
No,
Portugal?
then I went back to Germany for 4.5 years over
That's a long
the
while.
yeah the last
And that's when you were working on music more. Like
yeah
after that trip,
exactly.
you kicked into the gear, and you're like, you know what? I've seen the goat. I've seen the vision. I got this.
I got this. Yeah, for the, after I come back, I met the most of my new bandmates. Before it was just Luca and me,
Mhm.
and then I meet Thomas, Manu, Tizi, and Emi, and with them we created like Basement Tribe and Gateways. Basement Tribe was existing there before, but without anything, without page, without any records or something.
Mhm.
And now we have a whole house. It's an old gardenery where three of my band colleagues live in, and on the underground in the basement we have a record studio and also movie studio, little
That's
one. The
what's up.
movie studio is in build up. But yeah, in the last 4 years we did huge things. We did like 3 albums. And
So, explain to me, like,
the Gateways
Basement
is
Tribe is more metal-ish,
is
I think.
no,
Okay.
Gateways is more like Toolish.
Okay.
So
Maybe that's what I heard.
progressive metal, progressive rock, and Basement Tribe is more stoner rock, I would say.
That is an apt description, actually, because I
Yeah,
listened to the Wizard thing and I was like,
yeah,
it wasn't trying to melt my face, right? Like sometimes, like metal can be like all neoclassical and kind of
yeah.
everywhere. It was way more sludge, kind of
Sludgy.
driving,
Yeah,
cool in a cool way. Like I was like, oh, Tom Morello, you probably like Rage. The irony is, I work out, not like a big deal, but like I bike ride 10 miles, and on the bike today, the stationary bike, I listened to Evil Empire. I mean, that's older, Rage Against the Machine album, but Tom Morello, you probably know the guitarist, makes crazy sci-fi sounds. And it's
yeah,
not that you were making exactly that stuff. It sounds more like Tool than Rage, but there
yeah.
was this understanding of kind of, well, I guess once you've seen people eating babies from the river, you can tap into it, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that kind of, that
That
kind
was
of
the game
energy.
changer.
Yeah, yeah. The goat, really. The biting of the goat. You have no clue. Ultimately, that was probably really occulted, esoteric, deep. Like Saturn has bit you, and now
That was
you are
the
free.
beginning.
Yeah. So yeah.
sorry
So
just to go further
go
on
ahead.
the symbolic route, but isn't like the goat? Wouldn't that be Capricorn?
It is, and his Neptune is conjunct
And
Saturn
Capricorn, I mean, goats
in
are the ones
Capricorn.
who can stand like on mountains that are like this, right? They're the ones who like mountain goat stands around. So it's like obvious, of course, you meet the mountain goat and it's leading you the fastest way. Of course, with the granny also, but things perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, your Saturn is
Great.
in fifth house, which is like your heart, Leo, kind of heart chakra stuff. Saturn, your rules, your karma, your achievement goals, however you want to put your structure, maybe is the best way to put it. Your structure is in Capricorn. It's exalted. It wants to be there. So the fact that you have Saturn in Capricorn, that's a generational thing, not just, I mean, you so much. Like you're a Gemini sun. That's like my day, and kind of goes out from there, from the planets, from personal to extra personal. But the fact that you had a goat bite you on an Indian sojourn is very Saturn in Capricorn, fifth house conjunct Neptune stuff. It's surreal, but it makes sense. And life is this weird kind of game of symbols. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the whole thing is like it's just an archetypal trip, and we're just kind of churning through all these random regurgitated archetypes. I don't know how it all works, but it's fascinating. So I didn't mean to get off on that tangent there. So Gateways is more progressive metal, you were
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Okay. I'll have to
And
check some of that out because I
and
didn't I didn't even know that was a thing until like here we are, and you're like, I got 2 bands. It's like, oh shit. Okay, well, whoops.
In Gateways, I'm the vocalist, and I'm completely just on the vocalist. And on Basement Tribe, I write the whole construct of the song. I mostly play the bass, I do the drums, and do the vocals and the guitar. And then
You're doing the Lenny Kravitz thing. It's like the
yeah,
one-man band thing.
kinda.
So, and then you were saying, I heard an acoustic track, I guess, called The Key, and you were saying you've got kind of a third vehicle for an outlet for more like spiritual, not
Yeah,
happier, but like,
I mean, the key
uplifting
is
stuff.
also going in this direction even more, and it's also the slowest and the lowest track word we've got. The rest is with distortion and more heavy.
Mm,
And I would say the key would go to the solo project, would fit now better.
mhm.
But yeah, I was still doing stuff like this, from blues to stoner rock to heavy metal, and I'm really want to do influences by maybe mantras, maybe some shamanic tunes. I'm also working on some shamanic songs in this moment.
Well, like when you say shamanic,
With
what do you mean by
with
that?
drums, with shamanic drums, with didgeridoos, some tracks they're never played in real time. They're just for just for listening, because I can't play didgeridoo, drums, singing, and guitar and mouth harp in the same time.
You take enough acid, man. You can do anything you want. Just ask the goat. Just ask the goat.
Just ask it to go.
He's like, I am here, man. I'll have to send you the link to that because my voice is doing a horrible job of Adam Sandler, but that's kind of the sketch for him. All right. So, what are some of the? How did you get to Portugal? I mean,
The main the main appointment was the Boom Festival, and I'm really glad to go there this year again.
Oh, nice. You're going to Boom. Very good.
Yeah, I got my ticket, and Jess has got her ticket as well. And yeah, it was a plan from me and my girlfriend to buy a van and leave Germany and going to Portugal, because she was there 4 years ago. And she told me it's super nice, and it remembers her also on the vibe from Australia. And I also can agree, you have this roughness and wildness. I can really easily connecting to my animal side of it have this root power, this land here, and of course the ocean is just next door, which makes a huge impact of when you need to have blown away your thoughts in the breeze of the wind by the ocean. You just go there, and then the day is fine.
I might have not heard it because my dumb internet keeps kicking off. What town are you closest to? What area of Portugal are you in?
Lagoa, it called,
Okay.
but Faro, it's 66 kilometers far with a huge airport.
Sure. So, is it more southern?
Yeah, it's Algarve, southern Portugal.
Cool. All right. Yeah. I mean, I caught the last bit of it. It reminds you of a lot of Australia. I was noticing that with the beaches, it kind of reminded me. I mean, I haven't seen Australian beaches that look like that, but there's apparently in Sydney beaches that look like these,
Yeah,
huge rock cliffs with the kind of Seven Sisters or whatever they're called.
yeah.
It looked a little like that. It looks really, yeah, it looks like it doesn't. I've never had an interest to go to Portugal, particularly. My brother's been to somewhere, I forget now. Porto, I think he was up at. And my girlfriend right now is from Lisbon. So I'm like, I guess I got to go to Portugal. It's Europe, but it's just never been on my mind, really. It's like people
Yeah.
think like Paris or, whatever, Italy, Rome or, whatever.
Yeah.
What are I've seen recent, and this is weird, but I saw recently some like British dude go there and he's like, apparently you can find cocaine easily. And I'm not into cocaine, but it's like drugs are legal there, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And he got it like it was in a street center, like in Lisbon or whatever. There's cops, there's families, there's kids. He asked for some drug dealer for coke, gets it, tests it, and it's pure, or it's like real. It's not like, not real. So not that I care about cocaine particularly. I'm more interested in psychedelics,
Yeah.
but what is the scene like there? How does that work? I mean, is it pretty
They
much
have
laissez-faire, or like what's going on with that?
I just know how it is here in the Algarve. It's more of the luxury area of Portugal, I also would say,
Mm-hmm.
and it's super easy. I don't have that feeling that it wouldn't work for the country. The police is really chilled here. Even when you park outside or so, they don't come at you and yell at you. They don't giving fines when you just standing there in the nature. They never ask about are you drunk or nothing. Once we slept or we tried to sleep next to a beach, but then the police rock up and of course we smoked, and some friends of us, they also had 1-2 beers, and then they say to the police officers, yeah, but we drink, can we just not sleep here this night and then tomorrow at 5 we're gone? No, you have to go now. Okay.
Well, rules
Okay.
happen.
Yeah.
So it's not India, I guess. There's rules, but so yeah, like I said, I'm more into psychedelics than like hard drugs, but
maybe
they
just
have decriminalized all drugs.
yeah, the
All drugs.
decriminalization, and also I think that statistically, even their problems with drug abuse is lower actually, from what
Super
I
Totally
low.
disappeared.
It's
Yeah,
totally
and addiction
disappeared.
and everything.
And that
So,
shows again how well this whole Reagan or whoever
war on drugs.
is. Yeah, this is your brain on drugs. Yeah, so
Well,
I mean, this is.
have
I
you
mean,
ever eaten a lot of acid? It
I
sure
wanted to
feels
say,
that way
I
sometimes.
mean,
It's like I'm
I'm
burning.
thinking more of some more recent stuff. I've been watching this series called Snowfall, where they show it in a fun way. Let's say, I mean, fun. It's not fun, but they play the good hip hop tracks in the back and then show how people started selling crack and so on. And it
What a
basically shows how
weird time in history.
yeah,
Because
and
the
how
CIA made that happen. Straight
exactly
up.
that's part of
Yeah.
the story. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
But
like,
anyhow, it just shows that with decriminalization and dealing with it maybe more responsibly, you actually have less abuse, which should be the goal. How to have the least problems with abuse, the least victims. And it's funny also to me, kind of, or funny or sad, that you have a country even in Europe where this is apparently the case, and they're super chill and they have less problems, and all the other countries are still like, oh my God,
Yeah.
and spend
Everything.
huge amounts of money. Probably it's a huge racket where they're
Exactly.
probably doing their own thing with it, but
oh,
yeah,
for sure.
wasting money. So
But I have to
Yeah.
say, it's most of the things which manage all that is probably the mafia.
For sure. I was gonna say it's like this is probably the
It's
gateway into Europe for a lot of drugs. And they're just like, look, if you guys turn it, because Portugal doesn't have a big industry, particularly, right? It's not like Germany's like let's build shit, and Italy's like tourism, and the Vatican, or whatever. Italy history. I'm not saying Portugal doesn't have history and stuff. It has castles apparently and beaches and beautiful things, but I think it's kind of like not as popularized. So in a weird way, it seems almost Machiavellian. It's a weird way to put it. It seems like maybe they're like, you know what? Let's do. Not only is this going to help our addiction, let's do a sociological kind of experiment and see if it helps with addiction and crime and stuff like that. And it seemed to have been a positive effect, like Raphael was saying. But at the same time, it's probably like an opportunism a little, where it's like Las Vegas or Amsterdam or something, where it's like, hey, yeah, if you want to do cool shit, no one's going to hassle you, so come on down or whatever. Interesting. So do you surf by any chance? Or I know Portugal's got surfing.
Yes, Portugal got surf, and I really have to try, but
You got to try.
not yet, not yet. But
one of the worst things. I lived in Honolulu for 2 years. I lived in Gold Coast, Australia for 3 months. Like these are surfing like meccas.
Yeah.
I was I had a twisted ankle on Gold Coast, so I couldn't try it. But yeah, if you're in a place where you can fuck with the when I say native culture, like the idea that's like happening there, it's like, oh, this is a surf spot. Give it a shot. At least body surf. Like that's fun.
Yeah, everybody's here super on fire about surfing. Every camper van got a surfboard, and yeah, the West Coast is the best spot because here in the Algarve you don't have the big waves. When you're at the corner at Sagres, they call it the end of the world. After that, the huge wave started, and you have all the time season with 3 to 5, 6, 7 meters. But the high season is there in October. And you're here in the Algarve. The waves are high enough to can rock you up out of your kayak, but
you can have some fun, but it's not like a Maui thing or
you
whatever.
can't do these huge, insane, rough surfing things.
That's what's up.
But kayaking is quite nice here. Kayaking is super cool. Yeah. Also from that video, what you saw from Waves of Freedom, all these caves and spots around, you have the best view from the water, and also with the kayak, it's really brilliant.
That was a
Yeah.
really cool drone shot of those things. I think it was a drone. I imagine it was a drone. So what are you doing in Portugal? Is this like a creative kind of like community and you're making projects, or what's the deal?
Yeah, after the festival, me and my girlfriend, we just traveled around a little bit and went back to Lagoa, or to Caramujera, where I've been now. And yeah, I did some haircuts and get invited to a private pizza party into a casa. Casa means a huge house. Most of the time, it's a house with 4 to 6 flats in it, and then a huge garden. And it's kind of an yoga retreat center, or that was the vision from the also German owner. And yeah, I cut his hair and we had some nice chats, and we are resonating on the same level. And we could park our car also inside the casa garden. We have now our own balcony with salad garden, and it's beautiful. And yeah, we built up a team with 5 people, and we're doing here retreats 5 times in a week. Is here yoga. We have on new moon and full moon some singing events, like mantra singing events, or on the 25th we have an ecstatic dance event, which we got already here. We had on over New Year, we had an rebirth retreat, empowering yourself. It's with yin yoga and self-defense and some philosophy, I also would say. And last week we had a detox retreat where people had also one silent day. They're eating less food and just like easy digesting,
Detoxing. Yeah.
digesting food. And it was a thing for me and my girlfriend to cook for them when you're not allowed to use onion or garlic, some things like that.
Why not?
Because the Ayurvedic way says when you want to detox, it's not good
Don't
for
use
you.
those things. It's funny because I remember hearing Sadhguru, this Indian kind of pulp culture guy or whatever. He was like, "Don't do garlic and onions or whatever." And Raphael, I eat garlic a lot actually. Not so much onions these days, but I didn't know if there was like, it's you were saying it's an Ayurvedic kind of no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that. So shit.
Yeah, but I mean, you have some different herbs which also are fitting to that spot where you would use the onion. There's tasting interesting, quite similar, but they're herbs. For example,
Yeah.
you have the garlic leaf, you have the normal garlic as well. So you not all the time you need to use the garlic or something to having the same taste. But for me, I'm like also loving garlic and onion, and I did detox in different ways. I never did this in a 5 days row with nice shower, and they had to drink some vinegar water also, and yeah, different
Move
things.
over brags, right, Raphael? Well, it's interesting because he's talking about getting me sent some garlic oil, I think, or water soluble garlic or whatever he was saying. And yeah, I'm at a point personally where it's like how do we live? Like, there's no manual down here. What the fuck? What are we supposed to eat? How am I supposed to eat this? And I think everyone's body and
Even
blood type are a little different. So
there's many manuals, but also you're never really sure who wrote them, for what
yeah,
temperature exactly, for what time, for what space, what is the exact reasoning, and oftentimes it's also often misunderstood. Like we read something, we think, oh, that's the thing, but usually there's like logic behind it or a deeper meaning. And yeah, so
Buddha just didn't like garlic breath. He was just against it. No, I'm kidding. Well, Tim, I'm curious if there's anything we haven't talked about that you'd like to talk about, or Raphael, if you had any kind of questions for him. I've been talking this whole time.
sure, but that was the idea. I already spoke with him a lot. I mean, it's nice that now, Tim, you told me all the story about what happened, but no, this was the idea that you You ask the question,
Cross-pollinate.
you get a different angle, you know, so it's good.
Yeah. And your English has been great, Tim. If this was flipped, if I was on a German show, it would be Scheiße.
Thanks a
It
lot,
would be not good.
Hey.
Yeah. So you've done amazingly well. Is there anything do you want to make sure Raphael gets the links that you want us to be aware of, like the retreat center, if you want people to be checking that page out and going?
Yeah.
If I'm ever in Portugal this summer, or if you're still there, I'll swing through. Maybe I don't know how big Portugal is.
It's called the Rebirth Center, right?
The Rebirth Center on
That's
YouTube.
what I thought I saw in that video. Yeah.
Both of them in the description now, so everyone can just click
Perfect.
and arrive at the nice place with ecstatic dance and detox. Sounds pretty cool. And the
Optional
weather,
garlic.
you gotta say the weather, maybe just mention this briefly, is really supreme in Portugal. I mean, I've only been in summer, but there,
Yeah.
even during the night, you know, you can sleep outside, and it's so nice.
It's
Yeah,
it's a Mediterranean vibe. I mean, Southern California kind of stuff. I guess it seems like almost like Australia, a little dry and nice. Although when I say dry, I guess that's relative, but you see my point. It feels like a West Coast Mexico kind of thing, where it's like dry
it's
but
way
green.
more green as you would imagine, but in the winter season you have the green, in the summer season you don't have green, and in Australia West Coast you always have just desert kind of thing. Like for me, I had this feeling that it was all the time just burned out, and here I saw this transformation from summer to over the winter times to now. It feels like spring at home in Germany. The winter and the harvest is like spring in
Mild,
Germany,
very mild.
and all the flowers coming out. It's super green. Everywhere is clay. The with the 4 leaf, the leaf who brings luck.
The 4-leaf clover.
Yeah. It's super nice, and I never saw flowers like this here. It's super crazy, and yeah, of course it's cold sometimes, down to 10 degrees, maybe 5 degrees.
That's not that bad.
But
I mean,
it's
it's
not that
cold,
bad.
relatively speaking. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not minus 25 Celsius or whatever. Well, in wrapping up this interview, is there anything, like, it doesn't have to be like your final words of life or whatever, your epitaph, but is there anything you want to share with people, like a nugget of wisdom or just a sentiment that you would like people to just kind of munch on?
Oh, that was just great. Stay shanti, everybody. Stay shanti.
What does that mean?
Stay calm. Stay enjoyed. Stay
Word.
relaxed.
Well, something I've been doing, and I'm just gonna keep doing it until I stop doing it, I guess, is there's these things called yogi tea, and they're really good. Ginger, lemon ginger teas is what I
I'm
drink.
waiting for when you get the sponsorship, you know.
Oh
Please,
no,
Tim,
I
so this
think
at least makes sense, you
let's get
know.
them on. Let's get them on the podcast. I'm like, bro, I've been mentioning you.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And like I said, the joke
when-
is I've actually been to their Sikh temple in Española, New Mexico. I was there. I was even staying
They have
in this community for a day or two. And there, this Yogi Bhajwan or whatever, he built up all these organizations, and one of them built this temple in Española. And I was actually there and like
So
hanging
the
out
tea
with the
supplements the
teachers.
community. All right,
I mean, I don't know how it's organized exactly, but I was just there and I was like, oh, that's this guy. So I was like, okay, so that's what he did with all the money. That's what I thought, but I really don't know.
Well, yeah, we're not sponsored by Yogi Tea, but they're good teas. And they have little quotes or whatever on each of their tea things. And today's quote, when I got it, says, "Your strength is shared when you are present for others." And I had no clue how today was going to go because you're German
present for
speaking.
others.
Yeah, your strength is shared. Like, we're all strong little internet, but when we're present for each other, we all rise, right? So, Tim, it's been a pleasure. You're cool. If I'm ever in Portugal, I'll definitely see if
Come
you're around.
please.
Yeah. Raphael, good luck on the
Rebirth
guest.
Center.
And yeah, take us away, Raphael.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Tim, for joining. Thanks,
Cool.
Jim, as always. And thanks for watching and listening. Everybody, enjoy yourselves.